Hi babes, how are you? My name is Moran and welcome to the second episode of my series Spice Advice, where we are discussing sex issues that people are asking about on Reddit. So get comfy and without further ado, let's start. So the first post is, am I the for taking my genitals out after a date? Back in January of this year, I, male 30, matched with and started talking to this girl, female 26, on a dating app. We moved to text and she keeps sending me nudes and pics of her in lingerie. The chemistry is good so far. We end up meeting up for a date. She wants to go to a place that is near enough to her place. I mentioned that there is a brewery near the cross streets she said she lived by. We meet up at XYZ Brewery. She walked from her place. I drove and met her there. We have dinner. I pay. She says she likes a guy who pays. I usually split the bill, but I remember this from a previous convo with her. As we are walking out, she asks if I can drive her home. It turns out she lives 600 feet from the brewery. I thought she was joking because it was hard to find parking by her place that wasn't just at the brewery already, but she says she needs a ride because she can't walk the distance again. I feel like this should have been the first red flag, but pressed on to finding a spot that was closer to her place and wasn't just the brewery parking lot again. She was indeed not joking. We get back to her place. She invites me to her room. She tells me to get comfortable on her bed while she goes to the bathroom to change into lingerie. She comes out and she says she doesn't want to do any penetration or kissing. I tell her I'm comfortable with that and I'm glad she's just communicating outright. I see this as a green flag at the time. We start dry humping and grinding on each other. She goes back into the bathroom and changes into another set of lingerie. We are dry humping again. She goes back into the bathroom and changes again. We are dry humping again. I don't know why she keeps going to the bathroom and trying on different lingerie, but I just roll with it. We are dry humping again. I don't know which set of lingerie we are at now, but it was like 3-4 set changes in total. And I take out my. She sees I took my out and gets really upset, then goes to the bathroom again. I put my clothes back on, knowing she'll probably ask me to leave. She comes back out in more lingerie and wants me to take my pants off again. We get in position to dry hump, and then a moment later, she tells me she wants me to leave immediately. She walks me out. Later that night, she starts texting me things like, "Are you sure you don't have any STDs? Are you sure you're sure? Can you get tested? When was your last test?" And I explained to her that I believe she's having a post-hookup anxiety attack and that there is literally nothing we have done this evening that could transfer an STD. We didn't even have skin-to-skin contact. No kissing, no fluids. She says something like, "There is literally nothing you could say to make me feel good right now," and she ghosts me. Fast forward like 6-7 months to late summer, and she and I match again on a different dating app. Right off the bat, she asks if I want to come over and see her new lingerie and asks if she can show it off. I tell her I'm the guy she went on a date with back in winter and we did that before, but that she got uncomfortable. She then says, "Wait, you're the guy I went to XYZ Brewery with and you took your penis out?" And I said yes. Then she says, "Well, I consider that to be sexual assault and you should never contact me again." So, 2 questions here because I'm genuinely confused, and when telling the story to friends, I've gotten mixed answers. First, am I the Second, did I sexually assault her? Third, if so, what can I do to avoid accidentally sexually assaulting someone in the future? Well, now that's 3 questions in it, but okay, you're not the and all of this is very confusing to me. This seems very odd in a way that y'all were dry humping and she was doing like a fashion show for you and you went along with it, not communicating that you find it confusing, and she just, I don't know what she wanted, which is exactly the problem. It's very unclear what she was trying to get out of that interaction, but I don't think that's sexual assault because literally you were going at it for a long time, it seems like, and then nothing is progressing. But like if it seems that she's eager and both of you are eager, then I kind of see how the signals could have gotten mixed up. However, this is just very, very strange. So I would really like to know her side of the story because it's wild. The top comment here is dry hump, no kissing. Am I old or is this weird? Yeah, that's what I thought. This is kind of just old all sorts of confusing. Luckily, we have an update which might clear things up. Thanks all for helping me sort through this. I think we've crowdsourced some explanations for her behavior. 1, she mentioned that she's a former Mormon. 2, she said she had OCD when she was anxious about catching STDs. I thought she was just using hyperbole about having anxiety, but she probably is clinically diagnosed with OCD, which would explain changing in and out of clothes and being upset with me for not knowing that I crossed the boundary I didn't know about. 3, no, I'm not going to share the pics with you. I've deleted them from the text conversation that I had with her because it felt like the appropriate thing to do. It would be a massive breach of trust or privacy for me to share those pictures. Stop asking. Okay, so first and second things kinda make sense. The only thing I could probably say here is that it's really good to clarify the boundaries and or what's happening if at any point in the sexual interaction y'all are confused or don't know what is happening, because then like this goes down. Even though, I mean, this is quite an odd example of a hookup. I mean, it's not even a hookup. This is just like interactive fashion show, I suppose. But now that we are done with the warm-up, let's get to the next issue. Am I overreacting for ending things with a guy because he said I'm not putting my mouth where another dude's has been after asking if he was an eater? Okay, I know this sounds silly, but I, 22 female, met this guy, 22 male, and I really liked him. We ended up talking for a while and keeping it very PG, but one night, one thing led to another and I spent the night. We have previous history because we did talk in the past, but it didn't work out due to lack of emotional intelligence somewhat on both ends. So the time we ended up sleeping together, I was already on edge because I didn't fully trust him to take care of me the way I needed and the way he said he would. Since this was the second time around of us talking, I wanted to make him wait and to basically start over, but as you see, us sleeping together was not part of the plan, and that also made me feel a bit uneasy. Either way, the next morning we were laying in bed and I asked him if he was an eater because I want to know the person I'm sleeping with will take care of me at least in bed. But this man said, I'm not putting my mouth where another dude's had been. In the moment, I didn't react, but when I reflected on this, I was just thinking to myself how disrespectful that comment was. He made me feel like he thinks I've been sleeping around recently, when I've even told him I'm really not out there like that. He's also made small comments that upon reflecting feed into this narrative as well. I ended things with him and he has not contacted me, so all of this to ask, am I overreacting for ending things with him because of his remark and the situation? No, you're not overreacting, and that remark is nonsense. It's just complete nonsense and a cop-out for him not to go down on you. If the girl is not a virgin and is not conservative or anything, it's likely that she's been doing all sorts of sexual things, you know, including blowjobs, for example. So from his point of view, what should he do? Not kiss you as well? The top comment here is, so he's saying he only wants virgins or women who've only had sex with him. Yet if a woman held him to the same standards, you can bet he'd be complaining about women. I hope he remains involuntarily celibate. And the OP goes, oh, he does. That's why he's bugging. Yeah, no, that dude is doomed to become an incel if he continues with this bullshit. And we are moving on to the next issue, which is female 25 and male 32, husband suddenly into hot wife kink. Hi everyone. So my husband developed a new fetish a few months ago and I'm not sure what to call it. Maybe cuckold, but not exactly. Basically, he gets turned on by the idea of multiple men pleasuring me. Threesomes, gangbangs, all male scenarios. Sometimes he says he'd like to watch and then join in later. Since this started, he only watches that kind of and during sex he always wants to roleplay slash talk about it, like which guys I'd be with, what I'd be doing, how much I'd enjoy it. He's also super curious about swinging. The thing is, I'm not really comfortable with it. As a fantasy, fine, but in real life I don't want to bring other men into our marriage. We also have a kid and I worry about what this could mean long term. He's even hinted at which of his friends he could imagine joining us, which honestly freaked me out. Recently, he asked me to show him a video of me with someone else. Back when we started dating, we talked about how both of us had old sex tapes with exes and we've made a couple together too. But I told him there is no way I'd ever show him something like that. When we first met, he was totally against even the idea of anyone else touching me. Now it feels like it's all he thinks about. My question is, how can I help fulfill this fantasy for him without actually bringing other men into it? Well, the crucial thing is that you're not really comfortable with it, and he seems to be wanting that specific thing of like other people being there, because it seems that the fantasy isn't quite doing it for him. So since he's already asking, it's likely to escalate into, let's bring other people in or do swinging or stuff like that. The only thing I can think of here is to involve sex toys, so he can imagine that there is another dude with y'all, but it's still keeping things in the realm of fantasy, so it's still not exactly what he's looking for, but there is absolutely nothing wrong with not being comfortable with this fantasy. The top comment here quotes, "My question is, how can I help fulfill this fantasy?" And they go, "You don't have to. You can straight up say, no thanks, not for me. Let's come up with something different we both enjoy. You shouldn't be doing stuff in sex you're not in love with for the sake of the other person. Straight up tell your husband that it's not for you. Drop it. End of discussion." I do agree. The only question is, will he react to it well, and is he capable of accepting that no and understanding that it's just a boundary and understanding that she's like not into it? Hopefully he is, but I do very much agree that you shouldn't be doing in sex that you're not comfortable with and you're not into just for the sake of your partner, especially if they're like pressuring you into it. And with that, we're moving on to the next story. Trigger warning, this one is going to be extremely gross. It's going to be dealing with blood, periods, and extreme lack of hygiene. Am I the for asking my girlfriend to shower while on her period to reduce smell during sex? I'm 32 male, my girlfriend is 23 female, and we've been together for about a year and a half. Our relationship has had ups and downs, but overall our sex life has been consistent except when it comes to period sex. She feels strongly that period sex is normal and often tells me I just need to grow up about it. For me though, it's not about the blood, it's more about the smell. My girlfriend doesn't shower very often, maybe once or twice a week. She says she doesn't sweat much, so if she needs to freshen up, she'll just wipe herself down. She also struggles with depression, which I think plays a role. Most of the time, this hasn't been a big issue because she usually doesn't smell or feel unclean, but around her period, it becomes noticeable. That's when it gets uncomfortable for me. The smell during sex makes it really hard for me to stay in the moment. She also claims that she cannot shower during her period. Her mom and grandma says the water could cause a stroke if it is too cold or too hot, and something about the blood clumping. For a decent amount of time, about the first year of the relationship, I was able to push through the smell and blood, with a few hiccups here and there, so I may have set a precedent that I'm suddenly pushing back from, which may make this harder for her to understand. I'm not intentionally backing away suddenly, my body and mind just cannot take it. Lately, I've been firmer about my boundaries because it's gotten harder for me to push through mentally. She recently brought up that our sex life has dropped, which bothers her. Since she's been on her period, the lingering smell has made it even tougher for me. I gently suggested that if she showered more during her period, it might reduce the smell and help me feel more comfortable and attracted. She got offended by that. Edit, I want to add that the situation conversation that sparked this entire conversation was me covering her up with a blanket to prevent the smell during the last time we tried. She felt offended. I can see how that may have made her feel insecure, and I tried to gently explain I was trying to quietly get around the issue. One that I've already voiced multiple times. I didn't mean to hurt her. I tried to explain that it's not her as a person, it's just my body reacting. I know periods are normal and not something she can control, and if I could just ignore it, I would, but I can't force my mind or body to respond differently. I also tried to ground her by saying if my downstairs smelled, you wouldn't want to continue either. She agreed hesitantly. She's hinted that maybe I'm not strong or manly enough for being this way, and I'm left wondering, am I the for how I handled this? No, you're not, and also it has nothing to do with you being not strong or manly enough. It's just a matter of her not understanding how like hygiene works. I'm finding it very hard to gently comment on this issue because I am so grossed out by this. I can't even put it into words because period blood is not regular blood. It has different texture, smell, and just it's not something you want to deal with, especially if you don't wash up throughout the whole period. It's horrific, at least in my opinion and from my experience. Like, it makes me kind of want to throw up thinking about it. Also, she needs to get a little bit educated beyond her mom and grandma's beliefs that showering during period will straight up give you a heart attack if it's too hot or cold, because no, maybe, I don't know, in some like 0.0001% of cases it could, but yeah, no, I don't think that is like a common thing, and that makes showering dangerous during a period. Also, you don't need to fully shower, you can just, wash up, and anyway, you don't have to go along with it. It's not a matter of you not liking something about her or not accepting something, it's just a straight up matter of hygiene, and it's crazy to me that she cannot like understand it or accept it. And the top comment here is, honestly, the lack of hygiene here is gross and not the asshole. Also, I'm a woman. So the next issue goes like this. Husband, 38 male, doesn't understand why I, 35 female, chose masturbation over sex tonight. My 35 female husband, 38 male, just had a really uncomfortable disagreement. I told him I was tired and heading to bed. I went upstairs and took care of myself. But shortly after, he realized he wanted to go to bed too and ended up walking in on me in the bathroom cleaning off a toy. He immediately looked upset and asked me if I had just used it. I said yes, and based on his reaction, asked if that was a problem. His response was that if I had told him I was horny, he would have immediately come upstairs so we could have had some fun together. He wanted to know why I hadn't tried to initiate with him first before taking care of myself, and wouldn't I rather my husband than use a toy all by myself. I told him I wasn't in the mood for sex, that I just wanted to take care of myself and go to bed. But he pressed on that he just couldn't understand how a toy is better than him. I tried to explain it's not a matter of better, but sometimes I just want to be responsible for my own orgasm. I didn't want a long, drawn-out sexual event. Didn't want to have to worry about pleasing someone else or foreplay or having to perform. I just wanted to get off and go to sleep. He told me that was pretty selfish of me, that he didn't realize that sex felt like a chore at times. Then he compared it to him choosing to get fast food over eating what I cooked for dinner, and wouldn't that be insulting? I told him no, it wouldn't be insulting. If he's not in the mood for what I cooked, that's valid. It's not a huge deal to get something else. He still seemed so offended, said he'd never choose his hand over his wife. I told him that I was sorry for hurting his feelings, that I wasn't choosing a toy over him, and that I think this is just an agree to disagree situation and there is no use arguing about it, and that I just wanted to go to bed. Now we're in this awkward silence. He's still upset, but I don't know what to do or say. I made it clear to him that I just don't think I need to run it by him before I give myself an orgasm, and while I understand why he might feel a bit disappointed, but it's not indicative of my desire/attraction towards him, so it's nothing to take personally. Before anyone asks, we've been together for 11 years, we have sex at least once a week, sometimes more, sometimes less, but we are far from having a dead bedroom. With this one, I'm at loss because I wouldn't also know how to explain it to my partner if he was being like this upset over the issue. I kind of feel like a lot of men just don't understand the difference between the way they reach orgasm and the way women do. For us, it's oftentimes way harder, and it's perfectly reasonable not to want to make a whole thing out of it every single time and wanting to take care of yourself just for health/relaxation reasons. Top comment is, my boyfriend and I do this a lot. Sex isn't just sex, it's so much more than that. Sometimes we just want to orgasm and that is fine. We will sometimes say, oh, do you want me to tease you before? Kisses, maybe some touching, but this is not a necessity. He might be like, nah, I'm good, and I'll say no problem and give him a kiss and he's off, or vice versa. Very true. So not necessarily advice because, well, yeah, what else are you gonna do? It is kind of a agree to disagree issue because it doesn't seem that he's able to understand her perspective, which sucks, by the way. And we're on to the last issue I have for you today, which is I have a weird kink that I can't wrap my head around, and I'm afraid if I tell my partner, the relationship will end. I promise this isn't one of those clickbait stories where someone says this and it turns out they're just into being spanked or something common. It's pony play. Please take a moment to look it up, do a full body cringe, and come back to the post. Don't worry, it's not anything involving any actual animals, that would be extreme animal cruelty and also a literal crime. It's people role-playing as horses for sexual pleasure. I don't know why I find it hot. Whenever I see it online, my brain is torn between cringing at how embarrassing it would be and wishing I was the one with the bit in my mouth. I think I would actually die from embarrassment if I ever did anything about it, so I've been trying my best to repress it, but it's only gotten worse. Even the games I play remind me of it, unfortunately. I don't know if I even want to tell my partner about it. Lord knows he'd be willing to help me explore it, but I feel like I'd look so stupid and cringy. I guess I'm mainly worried about him seeing me that way and not being able to look at me the same anymore, / losing respect for me. He's a sweetheart and I care about him more than anyone I've ever dated before, and I would hate to ruin it by being too much of a pervert. I am very upset at the story simply because the OP is kink shaming themselves, and it's just so sad. Like, you're not being too much of a pervert unless it's something illegal or something that can severely hurt yourself or others. There is nothing to be ashamed of. And the title is a bit misleading because you called it like, I'm afraid the relationship will end, but later you say that you are more scared that he will see you in a different way, and then you also mentioned that he would be willing to help you to explore it. So your problem mainly is the embarrassment and like you trying to literally kink shame and repress yourself. Why not share it softly with your partner? Tell him that there is something a bit odd I would like to try, and just like dip your toe into it. And if he's a reasonable person, he would just be happy that you shared something so intimate and so important with him. So it's more of a opposite effect, and it actually is very likely to bring you closer together. So maybe just try to work on your self-image first and to work on the way that you see this, because if it's something that possibly gives you pleasure, you shouldn't be embarrassed about it. The top comment here is, I think there are a lot more people into pony play than you might think. I mean, there is a police procedural about furries now, and it seems to be getting good reviews. Kink has gone mainstream. I was actually a little disappointed when I got to the reveal in your post because I read a pony play novel in 2006. That it's old hat. Harness these days. You want to shock people on Reddit, you've got to get turned on by spiral-bound notebooks or cosplaying 18th century Norwegian street magicians, blobfish play, wind chime fetish, liminal spaces erotica. Let's get weird with it. I hope your partner turns out to be the writer of your dreams. Also, at some point in the comments, the P asks, I'm not even sure how to do that without cringing at myself though, even though I know I actively want something like that. Is there a trick to not getting inside your own head about this, or is it just a matter of doing it until it's not scary or cringy? It's not necessarily a trick, but maybe some relaxation beforehand might help. Also, going slowly. Also, just kind of shifting your perspective and realizing that literally nothing matters in this life. If you think about it, like literally nothing matters. Being embarrassing or thinking way too much about how you look, especially to your partner. Like if your partner is a safe person for you and if you feel comfortable with them, you shouldn't be afraid of looking like weird around them, and you shouldn't let that hold you back from exploring what you find interesting. So ultimately, good luck with your pony play. I hope you actually will find strength and like inspiration to explore it without embarrassment. And with that, I will be wrapping up this episode. Please do let me know what you thought about all of these in the comments. If I've missed something, if you have more advice. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you with another episode at some point in the future. Bye.